Maritime Matters is brought to you live by Bahamas Maritime Connection.
What is maritime?
Maritime, simply put, relates to navigation or commerce on the high seas.
Kirby?
Some say money makes the world go round. I say ships move the money that make the world move. Who navigates those large international ships? How often are international ships required to be serving? Maritime also protects our seas and waters by way of our local Bahamas Defense Force. It is very sad to say that out of 1,500 plus ships that are registered under the Bahamian flag, only a very small amount of Bahamians are employed. Maritime Matters.
And welcome one, welcome all. Whether you're listening via radio wave or 97.5 FM, via internet on the app TuneIn Radio, or via Cable Bahamas, channel 951, or even by Flow TV, channel 606. We appreciate you, and we humbly welcome you to our show. We now encourage you to check out our new YouTube page at Maritime Matters Bahamas. Here, you can listen to all our previous shows at your own leisure. So feel free to hit us up on our YouTube page, Maritime Matters Bahamas. Pleasant good evening. I am Captain Glenn Bain. This is show number 16, people. And this is the month of May. The month that we suffered our most tragic maritime event in the history of this country. The bombing destruction of HMBS Flamingo. So please, listen in. Listen in as we engage discussions on this most sobering maritime matter topic. The bombing of HMBS Flamingo, the 4 Marines that were killed in the process, and the burden that the 15 survivors had to endure in the aftermath of that tragic event. We're going to learn from our distinguished guest tonight his ringside seat details of this tragic event, from the beginning of Flamingo's deadly voyage to her eventual destruction by Cuban-made fighter jets. So buckle up, folks, and join us on this humbling and most informative revelation into the HMBS Flamingo, her final voyage. Our sponsors for the night, One-on-One Pharmacy. Listen, people, you want good treatment when you need medication? Check out my little cousin Shantia McBride and her lovely team at One-on-One Pharmacy. Fill your subscription at the store or send your refills via the online site, oneononepharmacy.com. The 2 locations are East Street South and Charles Sanders Highway. When you walk in the door, you will be treated with royalty and utmost respect. Say hello to my good cousin Stephanie Cooper while you're in there, and just let her know and let them know Maritime Matters sent you there. We are also sponsored by Bahamas Maritime Connection. Yeah, that's us. We provide a full slate of ISPS maritime security services. Thirdly, we are sponsored by Totally Secured Security and Investigations Services. They are headquartered in 8 Mile Rock, Grand Bahama. For all your security guard duties or security investigation needs, please give my good friend Andrew Sturrup a call at 819-8944. He and his certified security team will see you straight. That's Totally Secured Security at phone 819-8944. To the listening audience out there, it will be remiss of me to go on any further, not introduce my wonderful producer. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you the insatiable, the man of the hour, and of course, the man with all the power, the one and only Craig Gibson. Yeah, he's hailing you. You're listening to Maritime Matters, people. On this show, we talk maritime. Maritime Matters airs weekly at 19:30. That's 7:30 p.m. for those of you who aren't doing the military thing. Every Tuesday night here on Love 97. The purpose of the show is to highlight persons that made significant contributions to maritime in the Bahamas and to sensitize Bahamians of opportunities in the maritime sector. Halfway through the show, we will open the phone lines. The number to call will be 326-8255. Again, 326-8255. So what happens to the employees of the state when they are killed while in the process of providing service to the public? Are they appropriately compensated for what they do? I dare say they are not. Should these victims receive reparation grant from the public purse? I dare say yes, indeed. Reparation now, not wait for their great-grandchildren to insist on it like the offsprings of slaves now have to do. Reparation now, people. Reparation grant now. I say $1 million for the family of any government employee that is killed whilst in the line of duty. We got a history of a lot of policemen, a nurse, and defense force persons, etc., etc. We should remember Nurse Lund from many years ago, carrying out a nursing duty and killed by gunfire as bandits were making an attempt to shoot a hospitalized medical patient. What happened to a family that depended on her income? What compensation should have been remitted by the state for the loss of life of this serving nurse while diligently carrying out her duties? I recall Sergeant Melinda Pratt. Whilst transporting a suspect on the highways of Eleuthera, the suspect jumped out of the moving police jeep and fled on foot. Linda's partner pursued the suspect, and while she waited outside to assist her partner on return, she was stricken to her death due to a passing vehicle crashing the police jeep into her. At the time, Linda was 64 years old and making preparation to retire at 65 the very next year. What happened to her children and grandchildren that depended on her income? And what happened to the impending NIB pension that she worked so hard to attain and should have begun receiving the following year? Not a thing, people. Not one thing. She didn't get it. Her family didn't get it. There were no reparation. In situations such as these, where employees of the state's life are taken away as a result of serving the public, surely there must be reasonable compensation. I say at least $1 million for each victim. And this should not have anything to do with insurances, etc., etc., but funds issued by the Treasury of the state as a grant of gratitude to the family of that victim. And of course, this needs to be made retroactive, people. If we appreciate our employees of the state making such sacrifices for us all, we should have no objection to appropriate reparations when this type of thing happens. I say $1 million for any person that causes the country flag to raise while the national anthem plays in the eyes of the world. Those that go on that stand to receive an Olympic gold medal. I told you last week I'm a former volleyball national team player. I can attest to the difficulty in qualifying for Olympics, not to mention attaining a gold medal. How difficult it is to beat the rest of the world. I simply say, ask those that have beaten the rest of the Bahamas, but still cannot make Olympic qualifying requirements. And so, any Bahamian that reaches such an achievement to attain a gold medal at the Olympic Games, you too should be appropriately compensated. And I say at least $1 million for each occasion that someone does so. $1 million each for the family of Derwood and Cecil. $1 million each for the 5 golden girls. $1 million for Pauline. $1 million for Tonique. $1 million for each of the Golden Knights. $1 million for Stevie. $1 million for each of the 2 times Shawnee stood tallest in the eyes of the world, caused the Bahamas national anthem to play, and our flag raised above them all. This is a small price for for the state to pay for such accomplishments, people. And for any other Bahamian who wishes to get on this $1 million Olympic gold feat, step forward and give your best shot at beating the rest of the world in Olympics. It will be there for you too. I say $3 million each for any person that faces unfair attack from another country military power, unless, of course, they are equally trained and equipped to combat such a force. So, for the surviving 15 members of the Flamingo bombing, the state should be remitting to you, or in the case of those that subsequently passed on to their families, at least $3 million. This is a small price to pay for one that was only trained to combat intruders in peacetime situations, but without being given the relevant weaponry or training, helplessly suffered unrelenting attack from a foreign military might, raining missiles and gunfire from a MiG fighter jet in the sky. For this, at least $3 million, people. And I go on. At least $5 million each for the family of any person slaughtered as a result of any military attack without being trained and or equipped to fairly defend themselves against such an attack. Yes, the families of Fenric, Austin, David, and Edward. You should be receiving at least $5 million for your son's devastating loss of life. Last week, Tuesday, on the invitation of Commodore Raymond King, I attended the RBDF 42nd anniversary memorial service, and how impressed I was of the ceremonial display of honor and of appreciation. I wish to publicly thank former Commodore Clifford Butch Scavella for his insight and initiative for the construction of the Flamingo Memorial Monument at Coral Harbor Base. I additionally thank Commodores Roderick Bowe, Tellis Bethel, and Raymond King for the progression and gradual upliftment of this annual ceremony. The monument is indeed a sight to behold, eh? It consists of the names of Flamingo's crew members that came under attack on that brutal day. Also of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force members that died while in the line of duty. And additionally, of all the RBDF members that died whilst being an active member of the Defense Force. Quite a fitting arrangement, I say. You know, during that ceremony, the acting Prime Minister, DPM I. Chester Cooper, gave a very moving speech. I held on to the part when he advised that next year, during the country's 50th independence anniversary, the 43rd memorial service shall be a grander event in light of the dedication and honor displayed by the Flamingo crew while under attack. But, here's the but. Unfortunately, people, there was no mention of reparations. Is this so hard to consider? How long? How long should these men carry on with their impacted lives in hopes that there might someday be some form of compensation for what they had to endure over the past 42 years? How long, I ask? It's been 42 years and counting, Bahamas. How long, I ask? I say reparation now, people. Reparation, grant, now. Hey, enough talk, man, enough talk. A short few years ago, we found funding for over $200 million for patrol boats and harbor dredging for those vessels. That was fine, and that was duly needed. But so was the reparations for those men that suffered that awful attack on May 10th, 1980. They should share at least $100 million among them. But we are suggesting a reduction to $65 million for the suffering of over 42 years, for the sacrifice they paid on that fateful day, for the sake of good conscience, Bahamas. Again, the 19 crew members that were viciously attacked 42 years ago are as follows. Starting with the 4 that were slaughtered during the action. Fenwick Stirrup. And I dare say we name Carmichael Road, Fenwick Stirrup Road. Austin Smith. And yes, Coral Harbor Road North to the airport should be Austin Smith Road. David Tucker. Let's give him Coral Harbor Road South, which leads to the Royal Bahamas Defense Force base. You know, Tucker was the gunner. Edward Williams. Adelaide Road should now become Edward Williams Road. So 4 roads leading from that Coral Harbor roundabout should signify those 4 men that viciously lost their life without even an option or an opportunity to defend themselves. All because they are serving for this country as designed by the Defense Force against the drug smugglers, the poachers, and of course, what else? Drug smuggling, poaching.
Don't forget after hurricanes. We got
hurricane relief, yeah. and assistance in when people go missing.
Yeah,
search and rescue, and all the rest of that. That's what we are trained to do, people. So when we attack by a military aircraft, doesn't have a chance. We've not been trained for that. You know, we should be compensated because, you know, life is really precious. And then we have the 4 that subsequently passed on. Wilfred Sands, the first of those 4, we call him Cool Breeze. Oscar Miller, we call him Dusty. He would have been the second one to pass. And then Leopold Kirby, known as Leo. That's my good friend. I mean, all of these guys are my good friends. But, you know, Leo served under me on board the HMBS Inagua, the Yellow Elder, and he's such a good guy. And, of course, the most famous of them all, Amos Roll. And then we have 11 that still remain amongst us. And we got to be thankful for that. Anthony Allens, Peterson James, Gregory Curry, Denzel Clark, Trevor Sands, John Wallace, Whitfield Neely, Willard Sanders, Anthony A.K. Russell, Eugene Blue Thompson, and of course, my good friend Cladwell Farrington. We're talking maritime, people. You're listening to Maritime Matters. At this point, we move to our first break, and when we return, we will engage tonight's most special guest. Please stay tuned. Without further ado, I am pleased to introduce tonight's guest. He hails all the way from Harbor Island, Eleuthera. This cat, ladies and gentlemen, is quite the achieved individual, a trained soldier, a trained leader. He played quite a critical role on board the HMBS Flamingo during her fatal last voyage. The Marine seaman that was everywhere, doing everything during the MiG jet's attack. Here sits the brother that has, in true fashion, worked his way through the proverbial hose pipe from the bottom of the pack to the top of the heap. Step by step, he strolled to the mountaintop where he wrestled down the boudin and gobbled down the betel nut. So brace yourself for a highly informative and most sobering military maritime discussion. I present to you tonight, ladies and gentlemen, a true achiever, another survivor that stared death dead in the eye and said, "Not today, death." Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you His Excellency Whitfield Neely, MBE Captain Retired. Brother Obi, it's a privilege, my friend, and an honor to have you on Maritime Matters.
My brother, I must say to you that it is indeed an esteemed pleasure of mine to be here with you. I remember first meeting you, Glenn. I remember first meeting you. We were both working on those Mark 260 footers. You were the captain of one.
That's right.
And I was the cook on one.
Yes, yeah. Eleuthera was my first 60-foot command.
Yes, and we had our discussions daily out there. All of us trying to make our ship the most beautiful ship in the harbor.
Oh, and Eleuthera always had the shiniest brass.
Sure,
You was on Anderson.
I was on Exuma.
Oh, Exuma. No, y'all couldn't compete with Eleuthera.
I ain't sure about that. That can take us 3 hours.
Yes, sir. I concede we were all good.
Yeah, we were good.
We were all good.
We were good.
Yeah.
It's indeed a pleasure to be here this evening, Bahamas. A pleasant good evening to all of you, my friends in Grand Bahama, my friends in Eleuthera, Abaco, all throughout the archipelago of the Bahamas, where I've had the privilege and indeed the pleasure to travel to all those islands and meet all of you lovely people. It's a pleasure to be here. Still here.
Thank you very much, my brother.
Years going and still going
and still going strong and still looking young and energetic, and everything remain intact.
Yes, it is good to be here. But I must commend you on looking well for your 60th.
Thank you very much, sir.
I was scrolling through Facebook, and of course I'm a troll. I hardly leave a footprint on it, but I like to read. And there you were. Your daughter gave a lovely
yes.
piece up there.
My daughter Misty does it for me every year, and I must thank her because, boy, she overdone herself this time.
Well, welcome to the 60s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you very much. I'm glad to join you, Brother Obi, and I look forward to joining you even in the 70s.
Wonderful.
And so on.
Praise God for that.
My brother, I thank you for being here on but guess I want to correct you on one thing. You said that you met me when we first went. We won the 60-footers. You won one, I won that. But I met you many years before that.
That's right. I remember now. You're right.
You graduated from Aquinas along with my brother Nimrod Burrows.
That's right.
Nimrod was a year ahead of me in school.
We used to call him
Bugs.
Yeah, all my classmates are listening,
So it was the Bugs and it was the Termite, and they always stay together. And Termite, was he in your entry or after?
He was before me.
Oh, he joined before you?
Yeah, he was before me.
Yes.
Joined before me.
Yeah, but my brother...
He was in entry 4.
Okay, so my brother took me to, it was Bahama Avenue, just off East Street.
Yes.
Was that Cox building or one of them? You was on the side.
That was Mr. Cox's former food store.
Yes, and you was in the corner near the back somewhere.
Yeah.
And you started a company sewing uniform, and you made my uniform for my last year of school at Arndale.
I used to dabble with the machine.
Yes,
and the material.
And when I joined the Defense Force and I saw you, that was in 1979.
Yeah,
well, 78, right after you graduated.
Right, that was a long time ago.
And so that's when I met you. You didn't know me, well, of course I remembered you because you was a little older than me, and I was introduced to you. And when I saw you on the Defense Force, I said, I know that guy.
Yes, yes, that's right. Well, Glenn, you have met me a couple times before, because Nimrod was my buddy.
Yeah, good guy.
We graduated from Aquinas together. Nice guy.
And although I saw you when I joined the Defense Force, I saw you, but I didn't know that you was one of the survivors of the Flamingo incident.
Hardly anyone knew. I hardly spoke about it.
Yeah, it's
talking a lot about it.
And not only you.
Yeah, we still don't speak of it, and that is the tragedy with this whole scenario.
Yeah.
And I think there are many reasons for that. Mm-hmm. And I was really truly listening to your prelude.
Thank you.
And you had a wonderful prelude, and it was very sensitive, and I wish that many Bahamians have the opportunity, or had gotten the opportunity this evening to listen to it. Because it speaks volumes.
It speaks volumes, and not only that, Obi.
As to how much in debt we are and how far left of the line we are as a public. And we need to be more respectful, and we need to be more... We need to look out for our people more.
We need to look out for our people more. And most people under the age of 40 don't even know about the Flamingo incident.
They don't.
And I found that out very recently, and I almost couldn't believe it.
Hardly anyone under 40 knows about the Flamingo.
We got to do something about
that.
And
I often like to claim ownership and apologize for that. But like I said to you, there was a time when it was taboo to speak of the Flamingo.
Yes.
Because it didn't bring glory to certain persons. They didn't want to hear about it.
And in addition to that, I understand upon returning on the airplane and being transported back to Coral Harbor, they send the whole crew out again.
Yes.
On the Marlin.
Yep.
And do you know why they did that? Because I'm still trying to understand why
Because,
they
you
would
know,
have done that.
I don't wish to find an excuse for our leaders at the time, and I'll quote unquote just say leaders, right?
Right.
But we were very young, and with youth there is quite a bit of ignorance. Because I'm still awaiting my first visit to my psychologist so I can sit down and really talk about the Flamingo and clear up my mind, because 42 years later I have yet to engage any psychological evaluation or speak of anything.
So they didn't arrange for each of you to go through psychiatric treatment at all.
We were arranged to go back to work.
Wow.
And you know, like I told someone just last week, you know, we were asked to give a list of items that we lost on the Flamingo. And this is the truth. And it was suggested that the government would reimburse us for them.
Wow.
But some smart person up in one of the ministries went through the list and said, well, these are items these individuals shouldn't have had with them out to sea. So we can't pay them for it.
So you didn't even get reimbursed for what you lost on board the ship that was yours?
Not everything.
Oh, wow.
And I really thought it was a real tragedy. And you know, as I got older and every year, I think about this incident just about every day. As I think about it, I said, boy, you know something? We were wronged so tremendously.
Yeah, I'm wondering why they didn't just, I mean, in my opinion, for something devastating as that, especially the fact that you could not defend yourself. You didn't have any equipment to do so.
No,
you didn't have any sea darts. You didn't have no missiles,
Nothing.
no surface to air.
Nothing.
And you were basically sitting ducks just hoping you live.
Like you said initially, we were not trained for such
You were not
an
trained
eventuality,
for military.
right? And it was really sad. And everyone just looked at it like it was okay, that's an everyday experience, we're moving on.
And even today, I
We were all
mean,
deployed in different areas, and we were back to work, going to sea and doing what we were trained to do by then, which was at the police college, because we hadn't started training in the Royal Bahamas Defense Forces base.
so you didn't even train at the base.
No, we didn't train at the base.
Wow.
All of us were trained over at the police college. My entry was the last group to train at the police college.
And your entry would have been the last set of people that were assigned. I mean, you were the most junior people assigned to the Flamingo.
Of course, there were 5 of us on the Flamingo from entry 5.
Wow.
There were 5 of us. There was Marine Seaman Leo Kirby, Marine Seaman Anthony Russell, Willard Sanders, Edward Williams, his soul, may his soul rest in peace, and Whitfield NEELY, myself.
That's right.
We were the 5.
And may Leo's soul
And
rest in
Leo's
peace as
soul
well.
rest in peace, yes. Leo died just recently.
And I saw his
Yes.
beautiful wife Rose at the ceremony
Yes.
last week, Tuesday.
Yeah, she was there. We spoke.
Yeah.
I gave a nice little hug.
That's
Told
right.
How happy I was to see her. But this Flamingo, I'm starting to refer to it as a debacle, because now I'm able to speak.
Yes, sir.
I retired from the Defense Force after 42 plus years.
That's right. That's right.
41 plus years, I'm sorry. I retired last year, March.
Well,
And you know,
a Flamingo incident happened 42 years ago, so it
42
has to
years
be
ago?
42 years.
Yes, and you know, I was never able to speak publicly as to what my thoughts were on the Flamingo and whatever else there was to speak to. But now I'm not engaged by anyone.
Yeah, you can
I'm
speak
a Bahamian
freely, my brother.
citizen, so I can speak freely.
Speak truth
And
to power.
there is a lot to be done for the Flamingos incident that has not been done.
I agree.
First, I heard you talking about reparations and the treatment of the individuals.
Correct.
You know, I'd like to mention 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
Because these 2 individuals were on the Flamingo with me. And they have never been mentioned. No one has even seen them.
Wow.
Because these persons were there with us. They did their jobs. They did it remarkably well, in my opinion. They were my seniors at the time.
Right.
But nobody even ever speaks of James Wallace or Trevor Sands.
John Wallace.
John Wallace, I'm
Right.
sorry. I'm thinking
You know, James Wallace is
James
a
Wallace
different
is his
person.
cousin. That's his cousin.
Yeah,
Right?
the Ragged Island, that's correct.
Nobody has ever spoken of John Wallace.
And T. Sands.
T. Sands, we refer to him.
I remember him very well.
Or Trevor Sands. These individuals were on the Flamingo, you know.
And you know,
And there were so many persons that were just allowed to matriculate out of the Defense Force.
And most of them probably you. Well, I think
It
you,
was- it's,
Brother Curry, it's a few of y'all who retired,
We retired.
right?
We stayed.
And I think
Denzel
Denzel.
Clark, Whitfield Neely, Greg Curry, Anthony Russell.
Anthony
We all
Allens.
Anthony Russell too. Don't forget
Right,
that's
right,
my
right.
friend.
AK, right,
Yeah,
right.
AK. We retired.
Mm-hmm.
Cladwell didn't. Eugene Thompson retired.
That's right.
Oscar
Blue did.
Miller had an ending.
Yeah, but
he retired.
Yeah, he
you
reached
know?
that stage. He didn't
And
leave.
Peterson James would have retired.
He retired. I remember when
Yeah.
Peterson left.
But you know, these persons were allowed to leave.
But they carried the burden for all those years while they were even serving. Because you wonder why Cladwell would have left or why this one. And when I didn't even know at the time that these people were engaged in that action being bombed.
I'll
Right?
tell you something, you know. We've had leaders who really didn't find it a good feeling to be remembering May 10th.
And Cladwell,
And I'll say this to you, and it always bothers me, you know. One said it to me, and there was a commander one time who said that to me. Haven't you guys had enough? Why you still want to be celebrating this
Wow.
Flamingo? And
You're joking.
I looked at him, and I made him an indelible print in my mind, never to forget him, but I forgave him.
and he was a three-ring commander?
That's right. But I forgave him.
Wow.
Because, you know, I got to go someplace else after I leave this here place.
Yes, sir. You had to forgive
I'm
him.
not
But you
gonna-
can't forget.
No, I will not forget him.
No. Yeah, some people I don't
You
understand,
know,
man.
and I
They,
said, boy, now I see why we have to be struggling.
yeah.
And this fight is real.
And you guys should have been taken out of that defense force.
Mm.
You should have been put through therapy after therapy.
Never
You should
one
have been
time.
given the reparations where you really don't have to work anymore with full pension and all the rest of that. And with Adquil as the years go by,
I
man.
tell you this is going to be shocking for you. We have had persons who retired from the defense force currently today, this evening. It's now what? My watch is saying 8:12.
Yeah.
Can't pay their medical insurance with their pensions. So they had to drop the medical insurance.
Yes.
Therefore, they're caught out sitting on a bench
Now they're
at
suffering.
a public medical facility and suffering.
Hoping to get
Persons
service.
who have given everything.
Wow.
And this is not good in this country.
No.
We are not looking out for our heroes and our persons who've made all the sacrifices that they possibly could have made.
And that's
And it's
why we
sad.
got to speak out. That
It's
is the
sad.
reason why we got to speak out.
Yes,
because
and I
they're
agree
not
with
they're
you.
not going to hear you unless you speak out.
But you know, I was always caught up in
Mm-hmm.
litigation because I couldn't speak
Right. Yeah, you're still a serving
because
member.
of my affiliation with the organization.
Still a serving member, yeah.
But now, it
No,
doesn't
you're
matter
free.
to me. I say it freely.
And we need you to speak
And
freely,
people
Obi.
need to be called out, put on the carpet, and made to answer questions as to why that is so.
We're not
When
gonna
we
we're
talk
not gonna
about-
call them out. We're not gonna call them out by
No,
name,
we're not
but we
gonna call
definitely
by
gonna
name.
call them out. Yes.
Yeah. And people will say, well, you know, if a person serves in this entity for X amount of time, when they leave, they can keep medical insurance forever, for life.
That's right.
Some even leave with medical insurance for their families.
Yes.
But a person who has been on the line of fire,
Without being able to defend themselves.
and you know, I'll share this with you because this is my experience with it.
Mm-hmm.
I told you I retired in March
Yes.
of 2021.
Right.
April 2021, after 41 plus years, I had no insurance.
Wow.
I had no
Because
insurance.
you left the force.
And you know, I didn't realize it, you know.
They didn't even tell you.
Nobody even said to me
Wow.
that Whitfield, your insurance is going to be suspended.
And if you
know
want
who
to
called
continue
me?
it.
A wonderful lady from Kalina.
Wow.
I'll call her name, Ms. Minnis.
The insurance
Ms. Minnis
agent.
said, Whitfield, if you wish to keep this insurance, this is what you have to do.
Oh wow. That
And
is
it
so
costed
sad.
me a month.
And it happened to you, so you can imagine everybody
Okay
else.
then. And then I said, wow, I didn't realize that. And nobody from the defense force, nobody in government, nobody anywhere.
Said anything to you.
Not
No
even a phone
guidance,
call.
nothing. Wow.
Not even a phone call.
They would have just let it lapse and you wouldn't even
And
you
I
would
wouldn't
you would
have
have you
had
would go
any.
on thinking you had insurance.
And I wouldn't have had any.
Oh wow.
But you know what?
Yeah, and
I hope it
and,
can get better for persons to follow.
and here it is,
Because-
you're a member of the Flamingo, a survivor,
Yes.
somebody you wake your way up to 4-ring captain. I mean,
senior man.
you represented the country as an ambassador to Haiti and Dominican
And
Republic,
nothing.
And you go into, you can imagine somebody who has no decorations pertaining to all of that, and leave the force after retiring and not knowing any of this.
Got nothing.
So
That's what
Neely,
I tell you.
we have to move on.
Let's
Listen,
move on. 'Cause
I'm gonna have to open the lines in about 10-15 minutes. Well, we can hold the line for now, but I just want to hear your story on your ringside situation, and we can move straight to when we sighted those fishing, when you anchored off
When we saw
Ragged Island, and then you go on down there, and when you came across those vessels.
Yeah, it's like daylight to me. I know it very well.
Okay, I'll let you
I'll
go.
tell you, we were on patrol.
Yes, sir.
We were on a southern patrol on the Flamingo. It's always lovely to go down south. Good fishing. You ate good fish, crawfish.
We're eating good all the trip.
All the trip, you eating
Yes, sir.
fresh food. And we were moving down from Ragged Island, and when we were getting up on the Key Santo Domingo, off our port bow, we saw these two fishing vessels. Well, we assumed they were fishing vessels at the time, but we looked at them and we knew them because we were familiar with them.
Yeah.
They had this short look, and they had this smoke that spewing out this dark black smoke.
But not only that, most of the times you in those areas, you will see nothing but fishing vessels.
Yes, and usually Cuban.
Usually Cuban.
Usually Cuban. Because, the Bahamians were not really on the banks.
Not way down there.
Way down there on
No.
that time. They went up in the berries. Right?
That's correct.
And the CEO said, who was Amos Roll, he said, okay, guys, we got to go check them out. They shouldn't be here. And if they're fishing, we have to execute the laws of the country.
Of course.
And he said, Neely, get the boat ready. It's time to go. We get the boat ready. I used to drive the boat for him. And we were en route. But the guys didn't stop. So we had to shoot out the engine of the first one.
To make it stop.
To make it stop, we had to stop it.
Wow.
Which we did.
Right.
Okay? And Tucker was a very good gunner. He put the rounds in there, those 20 millimeter rounds, and then just stopped the boat. And then when the first one stopped, the second one knew they were going to be fired upon. So they stopped.
Great.
We went over, checked them out. Of course, they were fishing around Key Santo Domingo. They had fresh fish.
So when you say we went over and checked them out, were you part of the boarding team that checked them out?
I was the person who took the boarding team over.
Oh,
I was always the one who drove the seaboat for.
You was driving the Sea Rider?
Yeah, for Captain Amos Rowe, because he always had a feeling I was very good at handling the seaboat.
That's the Bryland kicking in.
Oh yeah, that's where I learned to do it over there in the Lutheran Harbor Island, right? So I always drove the seaboat. When I joined the Flamingo from the first week.
Yeah, you was driving the
realized
seaboat.
I could have drive boats, so
Very
he
good.
let me drive the boat. And I took the two teams over, dropped one on one boat, one on the other boat, and they did the checks. They radioed in over to him that yes, these guys were fishing, they're Cubans, and these men have fish on board. So he said, arrest them, let's go. And by then, we had already received some visitors, air visitors, the planes and a helicopter too. I keep saying it.
Or the MiGs and the chopper.
Yes, people keep saying there's chopper. I saw a chopper.
So you were still in the inflatable when the MiGs.
Yes, because I stayed over and on the scene while the men were getting all the
They were rigging
prisoners together and getting everything ready so we could move.
Right.
And then I saw the aircraft, which was normal because when you work down there, we always got some buzzing if you were stopping.
You saw Cuban MiGs before when you was down there?
Yes.
Wow. Now I know subsequent to that, I even saw a Cuban MiG fly over one time, but I mean it wasn't even no Cuban fishing vessels in the area.
Yeah,
we just saw the MiGs.
They always came out to check
patrolling
out
that area.
The aircraft or sea craft.
Right.
The Cubans, because remember, that was really during the height of the Cold War.
Well, that's true too.
With the Russians and Americans having problems, and the Cubans was caught up in the middle.
Right.
So they always had to safeguard their borders and keep all the Americans out.
So the first time, I understand they flew over a couple times. So the first time, where were you when you first saw it?
I was sitting over on the Cuban fishing boat.
On one of the captured craft?
I just maneuvered my little sea boat.
Right.
I was sitting there, observing and talking with the guys who were doing their work, prepping the prisoners and getting everything ready to move.
Getting the vessel ready to be in tow. The one was dismantled, right?
Right. And so the planes really came low. Man, they really came low. And like I often say, this was one of the most calmest, beautiful days I've ever seen on the ocean.
So they were actually making rooster tails?
Yes, man.
Wow.
They were just flying low and putting on those afterburners.
Wow.
And of course, if you don't see them, by the time you hear them, they're way down on
They're already past
They're
you.
gone.
Right.
Because they're traveling faster than the speed of sound.
Correct.
So I said, boy, I ain't feeling good with this. This ain't looking good. These guys too low, and they really looking at us. I saw the pilot. He flew down between the Flamingo and the fishing boats.
Right.
And I was able to see him maneuvering the aircraft.
That's
I
right.
said, oh my Lord, this is really close.
Yeah.
And then they disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
And then the CEO, Amos Rose, said, boys, we got to get out of here. Because, you know, it's getting on to twilight, sun starting to set. He said, we got to get out of here because I don't like the way these aircraft are flying
around. Right.
Let's get out of here. And he said, he told the rest of the ship's crew to hoist all the Bahamian flags we had on it. And we even hoist the phonetic alphabet, you know.
Oh, wow.
We put up everything we had.
Mm-hmm. Everything military was very visible.
Yeah, we had put up all the flags we had on the ship.
Yeah, because you normally fly on the
Just
stern, the jack.
And the ensign.
But then you can put the ensign is on the stern. You could hoist the jack on the mast.
We did that.
Plus, you could put the one on the bow.
But you don't do that on the way, right?
No,
remember,
not the one on the bow.
Only thing flying is the ensign.
That's the only thing, right?
And man, he hoisted all of the flags.
All three. Wow.
And we were moving. We started to move.
Mm-hmm.
And when we started to move, one of the aircraft came back from out of the northeast because we were traveling like in a northerly direction.
So all three of the vessels were moving?
We were towing.
Oh, you already had one of the vessels in tow?
We were towing.
Oh, wow.
We were towing the two of them.
Oh, the two of them was being towed.
And I didn't take the seaboat back because the CEO said we didn't have time for that.
Right.
Stay with the arrested vessels.
Wow. So
Which
he
was a
really
good
made
decision.
haste to get out of there right away.
He was he was not a little paranoid. He was very paranoid.
He had plenty of experience, so if he was paranoid, yeah.
That was starting to develop.
Right.
Yeah,
He saw it coming.
And these aircraft. And we were underway for about 30, 40 minutes.
Oh, that long?
No. Before we got underway, my apologies.
Okay.
Before we got underway, one of the Cuban aircraft flew from the northeasterly direction.
Right.
Because like I told you, we're traveling north. It came like at a 45-degree angle.
Right.
And she shot a salvo of rounds across the bow of the Flamingo from the starboard side to the port side. Because if you're traveling north, the starboard side is right on his wing, right?
Yes.
And boy, we all saw that. That gave me a cold, chilly feeling.
Right.
On that nice, warm day, right? I said, man, this ain't looking good. This ain't looking like this can shape up to be a good evening.
Right.
Then the plane disappeared.
Okay.
So we stayed underway, holding our course for about 30, 40 minutes. 30, 40 minutes into that, after the first episode with
The first
burst of machine gun fire, I heard these sirens. I grew up on East Street. I know sirens.
Okay.
I thought a fire truck was coming down the ocean.
On the ocean.
I heard these sirens like right by Mortimer Candy Kitchen, like echoing.
High sound.
Big shrill pitch siren.
Wow.
Just humming down. So I started looking for a vehicle on the water.
Wow.
That's how bad this thing had me.
Was that the missile?
That was the missile coming down from the aircraft.
Wow. It really made a loud sound.
Air to surface missile.
Right.
And we heard that siren for a few seconds, and there was a very loud explosion. Boom.
Okay.
Boom. And I felt the echo in my stomach.
Right. And you wasn't even on the Flamingo.
No, I was.
You was on the captured craft.
Being towed by the horse.
And you could have felt that when those rockets hit the ship.
Shook my stomach. I said, oh my God. And then nobody knew what was happening, I can tell you the truth.
Right.
Because we had never experienced that, like you said initially.
No, we weren't trained for that.
We were never trained for that kind of an episode.
Right.
Nobody ever lit off a missile and let us listen to it.
No.
First time ever hearing one go off. And then everything got quiet after initial impact. Very quiet. The echoes of the sound went off. You smell all the gunpowder. You saw the gun smoke because it was so calm, there was no breeze.
Right.
So the gun smoke didn't blow away quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And then we looked at each other and we said, oh my God, the plane just attacked the Flamingo and put 3 gaping holes on the starboard side of the Flamingo.
Wow.
I don't know if you've ever seen a photo of the Flamingo, but the smokestack is in the center of the ship.
I was the captain of Marlin for over a year.
Well, you know.
I know the ship.
Yeah, the smokestack is in about in the middle of the ship, about midship.
Right.
From midship, go down starboard, there were 3 holes.
And the crew mess is in the stern of the ship.
Yes, in the radio room and everything.
Right.
Right? And we looked at it and it was so surreal. We all said, well, my God, what is going on here? And then the sound came back to the picture for me. I started hearing screaming. People started screaming and running because the Flamingo caught a fire.
Yes.
They hit the engine room with all those fuel tanks and everything caught fire.
In the bridge area.
It must have gotten very hot. I wasn't on it because I started to see people jump in the water.
Of course, yeah.
I said, oh my God, this is real.
Mm-hmm.
And then the planes came back.
Wow.
And they started strafing.
Oh, they started letting loose rounds
and
from
those
there.
rounds, people who don't know, if you see a 20 millimeter round, you don't know how big that is. A 9 millimeter round is a joke. You know how big they are.
I know. I did a gunnery when we went for the 108s.
And
I did a 3-week gunnery training just on the 20 millimeter.
And
So
if one of them hit a human being, there's no more human being left.
No.
None left. And let me tell you, these aircraft, the aircraft was just up and down, flying up and down, and machine gun in the ship, machine gun in the water. We have to cut soon. And then, somebody said, boy, we have to go get the men out of the water. And of course, I was the seaboat driver.
That's right.
So I had to go get the men out of the water. Mm-hmm. And then you don't get nobody to go with you, not then.
No.
That ain't a good ride to take.
No, but then you again.
I went out, and I started retrieving the men and bringing them back to the ship. Bringing them back to the Cuban fishing boat.
Right.
Because we couldn't take them back to the Flamingo because she was already listed.
Yeah, she started to sink.
The stern was going down because of the engine. She was sinking.
Yeah.
Because of the weight of the engines in the stern, she was sinking. And we were just picking up, I was just picking up whoever I saw and brought them back to the Cuban fishing boat.
Right.
And dropping them off. And I saw everyone, I thought. I picked up everyone I saw, let me say it that way.
Yes.
And then I looked back over on the Flamingo and there was a fire extinguisher being used.
Right.
And I said, who will be over there putting out a fire and the Flamingo is in trouble? And then everyone said, that's the CO, you gotta go get him. I said, oh my God, the plane's still shooting, I gotta go over there. I had to go get him.
You had to get him, yeah.
I went over, I said, CO, you gotta jump. We don't have long, the plane coming back.
And the boat sinking, right.
Yeah, and then, boy, that look he gave me, that was the most painful look I've ever seen on a man's face.
Imagine, this is a brand new 103
I wish
craft.
I could have painted, man. I would have painted that look he gave me when he looked at me.
Wow.
I said, CO, you gotta jump. There's no other reason other than you got to save yourself. There's nothing you could do here. Jump. Then he jumped in the water.
Wow.
And when he jumped, he wasn't really, he was just devastated.
Wow.
So I maneuvered the boat over to him, bumped into him, reached down and helped him get in the boat.
And
then we made our way. We sped back over to the Cuban fishing boat before the planes came back straight from the area, right?
Right.
And for some reason, the planes didn't shoot at the Cuban fishing boats because they knew their people were on it, right? So when we got there, he said, let's do a check. He says, everyone here, he used to call me Neely. He said, Neely, everyone here? I said, yes, sir. Everyone I saw, I picked up. But I didn't know. He said, let's do a head count.
Right.
Then, of course, the Coxon, Peterson, James started to check.
Right.
And he came up with 4 names who didn't answer. He said, Sturp, Smith, Tucker, Williams. That was the biggest echo I ever had in my life.
And I could tell you,
no sound.
Peterson James have a memory of this world.
Yeah, that was.
I can tell you. I worked with him in admin,
Yes,
and he was
the elephant.
He was the
man.
master at arms while I was the
elephant.
first lieutenant.
He licked me up plenty days, man. He was the elephant. He remember you.
So he started to, he recognized those 4 names.
And he said, sir, these 4 are not here. Then the CEO said, Neely, you got to go back out and look. I said, oh my God. But I had to go.
Yeah.
I jumped in the seaboat, started up the engine, went back out there, calling names. I rode around the Flamingo. She's sinking, shouting names, looking at the water, looking for a ripple. Nothing.
And it's getting dark.
And the sun going down. Nothing. I said, oh my God, where these 4 guys are. So I'm still shouting their names. Nothing. I had to go back to the ship and report. I said, sir,
Yeah. Nobody's saying
nobody's
nothing.
answering.
Wow.
I can't get on the boat because the boat is just about submerged.
No, you can't go on that. No.
I
Yeah.
don't want you on there going back to look
No,
for them. So
yeah.
I came back to report. No sound of the 4 persons whose names were not answered. And the look on his face told me he knew it.
Yeah, he knew.
That they were gone.
Yeah. He knew it was
And
no more
man,
finding
he had
them.
that forlorn look on his face, the pain that was in his face, you know.
Yeah.
And I saw it. He said, okay, Neely, secure the boat. And he formed us up, and we had to salute the Flamingo, and then we said a prayer.
Right.
And we still look for those boys, you know. We still
Of course.
I looked for them for 40-something years going on there.
Wow.
Key Santo Domingo.
Yeah,
Every
you
time
just-
I go around there, I
you
look
never
for
give
those
up.
4
Yeah, you
guys.
never give up.
Still look for them.
Wow.
And we never found them, but we got the boat started. We saluted the Flamingo. Eventually, it was submerged down with the sunset. Beautiful sunset.
Yeah. Wow.
Like I said previously.
Flat, calm water.
Beautiful sunset. Only thing wrong with that sunset that evening, Glenn, the Flamingo was sinking.
Yeah. Wow.
That was a beautiful sunset. And I looked at it, boy, and it was so painful to watch it. And the Flamingo went down so quietly, silently submerged. Because it went down stern first, so the bow was that
Stayed up.
last piece you saw just slide under the water.
Wow.
And it was gone.
Usually the stern is because of the weight of the engine. The
The
stern would
engines were
normally
in
go
the
down
stern.
first. Yeah.
And I think that water was like 9,000 fathoms.
Yeah, it's those.
That's some deep water.
That's the middle of the Santorin Channel.
Yeah.
That's. I mean, you
That was-
don't have to go 1 mile off Key Santo Domingo, you're in ocean.
Yeah.
The rest
that
of it
was-
is banks, but
yeah, that
anything
was-
to the south or to the west, you're in
The
ocean.
Flamingo sank in over 9,000 fathoms of water. And
Well, I'd say
layman-
9,000 feet. That's like
Fathoms.
two
We
plus
attached
5,000
fathoms.
fathoms. Okay.
We can check it though.
Yeah,
And,
but it was
the
very
water
deep.
was very
It was
deep.
ocean. Yeah.
And like I said, we determined, the CEO determined it's time to get out of there.
Right.
Because he had this innate suspicious feeling they were coming back. Because after all of that and darkness set in, the planes left and the helicopter left. And he had this feeling that, boy, these Cubans are coming back. I don't know where he got that feeling from. Because I say, man, it's dark, we out of here and we gone. And guess what? We started making our way up on the one good boat that we had left.
Right.
Only one boat was left. Remember, we shut the engine out of one, so we had one, and we started making our way up with those 3-4 knots of speed.
That's all they do. And
So
plus
slow.
you loaded with some 20-something men.
That's right.
So she used to
And,
all of it.
Man, that was the most excruciating trip I've ever had on a boat in my life. Because you kept looking for these people to come back, and you're moving so slowly.
And it's still in your
and
mind.
they had the advantage. And guess what? They came back.
Right.
They came back
Looking for you guys.
that night when darkness had set in. And it's a good thing, he said, we will use no lights. We will navigate
Dark and ship.
darkened ship. And I'll never forget, Dusty used to smoke then.
Yeah.
Oscar Maynard Miller.
Yeah.
Dusty was always puffing those cigarettes. And a few of us helped him. Because, you know, he got tired because it was a long trip.
You got to keep the light on.
With that
The little
slow
cigarette
speed,
light.
yeah,
Yeah.
we had to keep the cigarette butt on the compass
Right.
to hold our course
Yeah.
and make it up.
Wow.
And those Cubans came out there looking for us with helicopters, with these large lights hanging down.
Yeah.
And I don't
Spotlights.
know, there was something about those Cuban fishing boats that the echo wasn't good on the radar. The
No,
kind of
they're not.
material they're made out of, some kind of graphite material.
Well, you got to remember it's
They
only a
call it
little dot.
concrete, yeah.
It's only a little dot in the wider scope of things
Yes.
because the sea is vast.
Yes,
And once you
and-
move out of that area, it'll be in darkfall. It'll be very, very difficult to find
And-
a small vessel.
But God blessed us, they didn't see us.
God save you. Yeah.
God saved us. And we made it to Ragged Island in the early hours of the morning.
Right.
And that's when we realized we were all alone out there. No message had gotten off.
No, we didn't have time. It didn't, like you say, you didn't even expect.
No
You didn't know what you
message-
were seeing
no-
initially.
No message had gotten off to New Providence.
To Coral
that we
Harbor,
were
right?
Under attack.
To say that, yes.
When we went in the police barracks, we woke the policeman up.
This on Ragged Island.
Yes, and he
Yeah.
looked at us and didn't recognize us.
Yeah, no.
After just seeing us, we looked that disheveled.
Wow.
Because a lot of us didn't have on our clothes.
Definitely, I don't know, shoot, because he was in the
No,
water swimming.
everyone was running.
Wow.
But now people like myself, I was driving the sea.
Yeah, you was
I
more
had a
rigged than everybody
coverall.
else.
I had
Yeah.
a coverall and stuff, you know. And when we woke him up and told him what happened, he couldn't believe it.
That's hard to believe.
Then everything started
Degenerate, yeah.
degenerate. Information got to Nassau. Calls started going and coming. Everybody got in a frenzy.
And you sitting here and you got me so intrigued. I mean, I've read about this thing and
Yeah,
and I've researched this thing and just hearing it from you firsthand,
Yes,
you know, it's a totally different experience.
everyone getting in a frenzy. The old ladies on the island, because you know the island always had a lot of old ladies and young children.
Oh,
on the
yeah,
island,
yeah,
'cause
especially
people
Ragged
were
Island,
down
yeah.
and the parents mostly were down in New Providence.
Yes,
getting their
yes.
education, or
Coming to
working.
school and working,
Right. And those old ladies were crying, especially when we told them that we couldn't find 4 of our shipmates. They were in tears because they knew them.
yeah. And this is
We used
Mother's
to
Day.
stop there. Yeah, we used to stop
Yeah,
there.
the Sunday was Mother's Day
Yes.
service.
But that morning, when the sun came up, the Cubans came back again.
Yeah.
They
Let me break you. You know I don't want to break you, right?
Yes.
But we can continue. Let's just go to the line and see who's on the line. They was holding for a long time. I guess I can get roll out now, but caller, you on Maritime Matters. Thank you for calling.
You're not going to get rolled out, my good friend.
Hey, Jerome.
And happy birthday to you, my good buddy.
Oh, thank you very much, my friend. How you doing, man?
I'm blessed, you know. But
Very good.
To get right into the moment, give me the absolute full name of your guest. The full name.
Whitfield. Go ahead.
Whitfield, Leo, and Neely.
Mr. Whitfield, Leo and Neely,
Yes, sir.
I take my hat off to you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I
Thank you.
take my hat off to you a million times over. And I wish our government had the humanity to also done the same in a very real way. You know, I've listened to you over the years when you would have been talking off and on about the matter.
Yes.
But tonight is probably the first time I've gotten a deeper appreciation. And I'm going to be 59 years old this year in a few months, so I can appreciate
Wonderful.
the history or the experience. I was in Boston at school when I was 16 years old
Yes, sir.
when I heard that incident on the news up there.
Mm-hmm.
So I got tears in my eyes right now, to be honest with you, because to hear this experience coming from you as clearly and as vividly as you're sharing it now, it feels as if it just happened yesterday.
Yes, sir.
I can only imagine how you and other officers in that experience must still feel. Y'all lived it.
Oh, yeah. And what a lot of people didn't realize at the time, we were young lads, as we were referred to.
Very young.
Right. I was about to ask you, what was the age range?
We were like, I was 20.
Right.
20. Some of my my shipmates were younger than I was.
Right. So your
Some
age
of them
was
would have
between,
been
18 and 21?
Yes, sir. But we had a
Right.
few persons older, like Peterson James, Denzel Clark.
The police
The
marines.
police marines that were on the boat, Greg Curry.
Yeah.
Right.
And then, of course, the CO.
Amos Roll.
Amos Roll.
Other than that, everybody was.
Everyone was
quite
young.
Yeah.
We were
Right,
quite
understood.
quite
You know,
young lads.
Yeah, well, sorry for that. My apologies. But what I wanted to say in the interest of time, I'm gonna cry shame, and I mean stinking shame, on the government of the Bahamas.
You know, like I was speaking to Mr. Bain earlier when we first started the show. I couldn't speak freely.
Yes, I heard you.
I'm a very disciplined person, I think.
Yeah,
and I like to follow the rules of the country. Wherever I'm affiliated, if there are rules, I like to follow them.
Yes, understood.
And I couldn't speak candidly about this matter.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as time goes on, people will hear a more vivid account as to what really transpired and happened with the sinking of the Flamingo.
Right.
Because I couldn't speak my thoughts to quite a bit of questions that were posed to me because
You
I
were
was
actively engaged with the force at the time.
right, and I'm tied in by rules and regulations, and there are
Right.
many of them. So
Now
I
you're
have
just
to.
a regular citizen right now, as the saying goes.
Yeah, I'm a regular citizen. I've been made a regular citizen, so I don't work, so I can speak what I feel like
There you
speaking.
go.
You
Are you
see?
writing a book or any kind of a documentary?
Eventually.
Because you seem to have
Eventually,
probably the clearest view.
yes, sir.
that I've ever heard, and please allow me, if I might, just in the interest of time, because I want to make it quick for other people to get on.
Mm-hmm.
But what I wanted to ask, or wanted to quickly say, is what I find so insulting about this entire experience. Our government can find $20 million to spend on Carnival, or $6 million, whatever the amount is. Something that is non-Bahamian, something that promotes immorality, in my view. But the government of the day, the same party that was in power back then, could not find monies to honor and recognize and compensate the service and the value.
I just wish they would pay some insurance for some of my my shipmates, because they need
At the
it.
very least, they should have done that for life.
They're not doing it.
At the very least. None of you ought to have left
Yes, I agree with you.
the Defense Force without insurance. You
Yeah.
should have been covered for life.
No, we all left without insurance, and some people had to drop it because they couldn't afford to keep it with $1,300 a month pension.
Wow.
See, you are the Bahamian, sir, that I consider to be honorable.
Thank
Not
you, sir.
those persons in the House of Assembly. Because it is, I don't want to get too deep into the politics.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Jerome,
Thank
let's
you.
wrap it up now. We got another caller, another two callers.
Thank you,
I
Shiro.
just wanted to call in, sir, and put my 2 cents there, because as I heard you talk, it's like a tears in my eyes.
Yes,
It
sir.
hurts.
Thank you very
And I
much,
didn't even
Jerome.
experience this thing. So I thank you again, sir, and God bless you, and may you continue to heal. And hopefully one day soon, we, the Bahamian people, are going to rise up and say, give you all what you do, because you earned it, and you deserve it, and thank you for your service to this country, so thank you.
And thank you for your call,
Bless you,
Jerome.
man.
Have a lovely evening.
Thank you, JT. Reparation now, people. Reparation now. Got another caller. Caller, you're live on Maritime Matters. Thank you for calling.
Hi, good evening.
Well, good evening to you, my dear.
I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to Mr. Whitfield Leon Neely. I got that right?
Yes, you did. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Neely. Thank you for your dedicated and exemplary service to our country. I've seen you over the years. I've got you on ZNS a few times with a few interviews, and you have really demonstrated what an officer should look like, how an officer should handle the public.
Oh, wow.
You're so articulate with your words,
You're very kind.
I'm getting emotional, I'm sorry.
You're very kind. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You're very kind. I do appreciate you.
Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you very much for sharing your story. And I really hope that the government should value their civil servants, because they too will come into the public, and they need to, honor our servicemen. Thank you. Good evening.
Well, thank you very much for that contribution, caller.
Thank
That
you
was
very
very
much.
good. And by OP, we got another caller on the line. I don't know if we can finish the story tonight, but we can see how it rolls, man. Caller, you're live on Maritime Matters. Thank you for calling.
Good night, gentlemen.
Good night,
Good
sir.
How you all doing?
Wonderful. How are you, sir?
Well, I can tell you one thing. My heart is all to you. Now, I can tell you, Star and Tucker was my classmate in school. Boy, and it hurt my heart that I hear both sing. It hurt my heart.
Yes, it pained all of us, because they were some of my friends. They were my friends.
Yeah, but you all be safe and have a good night, though.
And
Thank you very
do
much,
the
caller.
same, my friend.
Thank you very much
Thank
for your
you.
contribution, man. And take care of yourself.
Okay, sir.
All right. Caller, you're live on Maritime Matters. Hello.
Mr. Ben, I was telling my cousin-in-law, Mr. Neely.
Yes, company man. How are you, sir?
I'm in good shape, man. I want to say hello to my neighbor. I will always remember that incident, because the first time I experienced that, and that fight away, I used to be looking in the north, and then the fight used to be in the south.
Yes,
I
yes.
remember that.
Yes.
That says that you might have long woman.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you can keep Long Island alive now, company man.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
man. Thank you for calling, sir.
He's something else.
Caller, you're live on Maritime Matters. Hello. That one is
Oh,
gone.
there they go.
We got two more coming in. Caller, you're live on Maritime Matters. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening to you, ma'am.
I'm calling from Boston. And Obi or Whitfield Leon Neely is or was my former neighbor when I lived in the neighborhood. And it saddens me to hear that no form of counseling has ever been offered to any of the sailors on the Flamingo.
None whatsoever,
Even
man.
though it has been over 42 years, I
Yes.
think that should still take place.
Yes.
We as a community need to gather around these sailors or those sailors, the ones that are still with us, and do something. Sometimes we always point fingers and say it's the government. No, the community needs to get behind these sailors, and once the community comes behind this issue, I can see the government doing something. But we should not be quiet anymore.
Well, thank you, my neighbor. It's good to hear you. It's so wonderful to hear you.
Logging in, but I finally got it with the
What?
help of relatives at home.
Wonderful. I'm glad you're on board with us and listening.
Thank you so much for your
Thank you
contribution,
very
ma'am.
much.
And you are absolutely right. And we are not going to let this go. We're going to keep driving this on. And we got a big celebration coming up for the Bahamas 50th anniversary next year. And before that happens, we want to know that these persons that were under that fateful attack are all duly compensated by way of reparations. Thank you for your call. We got another call on the line. Obi, like I said, I don't know if you can get to the rest of your story, but
We'll try.
caller, you live on Maritime Matters. Hello.
That person is gone.
Okay, beautiful. So in that case, you and I could continue. You were saying that you wake up the police.
Yeah, we woke up the police when he was asleep, comfortably asleep, and we informed him what had happened to us in the ship and our missing 4 shipmates. And of course, all the calls went out. Everything started going to Nassau. People started waking up people. The whole island started to wake up and was in turmoil.
And at this time, you had the 8 Cubans with you as well.
Of course.
Right, okay.
Of course. Not a harm or hair missing on them.
Didn't touch them, right?
Nothing. And you know, the Prime Minister was out of town. But that's
Yes,
another part
that's
of the
right,
book.
that's right.
Yeah, that's
Prime
another
Minister
part.
Pinland was out of
he
town.
was out of town.
And
so,
Deputy Prime Minister Hanna was kind of taking the steering on this.
yes. And we stayed around. The ladies in Ragged Island, God bless their souls, all of them. They really took wonderful care of us.
Oh, beautiful.
They fed us. They gave us hot tea. They
Wow.
brought out garments for us to put on. Some
Tea and
shirts.
bread. Oh, there's plenty bread in Ragged
yeah.
Island.
We had tea and bread.
And then you
Yeah.
all had some Ragged Island people with you. You had
Yes,
Leo, you had
we
John Wallace.
Yes. We had
It was
John
just them
and
two, I
Leo.
assume.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just those two.
Okay.
We had Leo and John with us who knew everyone and
everywhere.
The people knew us because we were
Yeah,
frequenting their port.
That's
That
right.
was the only place to go down.
In the
down
Southern
the
Patrol.
south at that time.
That is correct.
Other than Inagua.
And you hail Key Lobos and
Yes.
Key Santo Domingo
Right.
and
We just traveled around there and we spent a lot of time around with them.
okay. We got another call, Obi.
Then
Let's
they-
see what they say before we. Oh, we got 2 callers. No, now we got 3. Hold on. Oh, not that one. Caller, you live on Maritime Matters. Hello.
Hello?
Hi, you're live on Maritime Matters.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes,
We can hear you quite clearly,
yes,
ma'am.
We can.
Okay, I had to just call in, I'm sure Captain Neely and Lieutenant Commander Dean. It's been a long time, and since I retired, I really just hearing exactly what happened. And what I'm saying is that we have to tell the story, and the story should have been told on this. Because it's so sad, I keep saying, well, how come I get 25 years? And this is the first time I'm really hearing exactly what happened. I mean, I worked among all the survivors, knew them personally, but the story was not told.
That is correct.
And so if the story is not told, then even us as the younger Marines, all we knew was, okay, the Flamingo is fine. But the story, actually, as to what had happened,
I know
that
you.
is told.
I
And
know
so
you
I
are.
think that going forward, we need every Marine that joins the Royal Bahamas Defense Force should know the story. Because, I mean, I say 25, and I am amazed at just hearing exactly what happened, even after I have already retired. And
But-
so we fell down as an organization, and making sure that the story was told on base.
I don't know how early I don't know how early you joined us, but I made mention, you know, it became more about persons who were in charge over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember looking at those recruits as I walked that deck daily or sail in and out of that harbor daily. And not one commander would come to me and say, Whitfield, why don't you come and share your thoughts on the sinking of the Flamingo with the recruits?
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing,
It
Obi.
never happened.
The thing is, I joined the force as an officer back in 1981.
Yeah.
Right? I went to Dartmouth, came back in 82, and I didn't even know the details of the story until I started to do all this research. I didn't know all of the people that were involved. I knew you because they always said, oh, Obi Neely was, Obi drive the dory, this and that and that. But I served with people who I didn't even know they were on that vessel when I got attacked.
Yeah.
Right? So this young lady, I can imagine, and I need to know which young Marine retired senior rate are we speaking to, ma'am?
This is Baker Smith.
Pray for me, my sister. Pray for us.
Yes. That we have to tell the story.
That is correct.
The story isn't told, then we wouldn't know.
Yes, I
And
agree.
as recruits, even when we did training, it was not told us.
That's
we
right.
knew about the incident. I can remember the incident as a child in Long Island when it actually happened.
That's right.
Not knowing I would have been joining the Royal Bahamas Defense, but after joining, I came into contact with all the members
Right.
who were still there. But it's just that you knew them on, but the details of the story was not told.
That's right. And you and I are like Lady Baker Smith. And God bless Brian's soul.
Yes.
I know that's your past husband. And thank you very much for your contribution. We got some other callers on the line. We're gonna just run
Thank
to
you
them.
very much, Baker Smith. It's good to
Thank
hear
you. Oh wow, which line is next? Producer, I got like 3 lines lit up. Caller, you on Maritime Matters. Hello.
Yes, good night. A pleasant good night to you, Captain Dan and Captain Neely.
Thank you.
Good night,
evening
sir.
to you.
Well, I'll say one job. I'm saying that the first time I've actually heard the death of the story, Captain Neely.
Hey, Brother Sanders. It's good to hear you, man.
Well, it's good to hear you, too, brother. I mean, I said, I usually miss the show on Tuesday my Bible class. I did the count of the night, but I go out and you keep tuning.
Use my cousin. Joe used my cousin and used to be missing the show.
But I mean, I've heard a lot of stories, especially from Blue, but Captain Neely, I'm going to say.
Yes.
I said down, and like the first one I say, he salute you. I salute you, sir.
Thank you very
Honestly,
much, Joe. But we grew up together.
I didn't know that deep.
You never asked me, at some point I couldn't just tell the story. We spent plenty duty watches together, you forget it. We spent plenty duty watches,
That's
waking
right.
nights together, don't forget.
Okay.
Yes, sir, but you know how to go.
Yes.
All
it's
them
good to
good,
hear
all
you,
them
brother.
good tarts and cake you used to bring. Anyway, Joe, thanks for your
Yeah.
call. We got 2 more lines lit up. I'm gonna get to them. All right, sir.
Thanks a lot. Joe. Joe is my boy.
Caller, you live on Maritime Matters. Hello.
Good night.
Good night,
Good
madam.
evening.
Hi, Glenn Field. Having lived through some of this with Whitfield and being so happy to see him walk through gate that morning, that little tiny fella, and being so proud and happy he was alive. It
Aha.
is never too late for our country to restitute those men on that boat. There is no
Listen,
way
sister.
that they should be leaving that job with no insurance.
None
coverage,
whatsoever,
and that
sis.
measly retirement package.
Yes.
We really need to do better as a country, and it's not too late to go back and correct it.
That's right, ma'am. They should not even have served
Thank
another
you.
day. After
Thank
an
you.
attack like that, a seaman should not serve another day. That seaman should have been taken out of the system, taken care of, given pension for the rest of their life, and given that reparation to make sure that they're well taken care of for the rest of the days. And we still have 11 of these men with us. And we need to
Certainly.
make sure that at least while they continue to live, they can enjoy being alive after such an attack.
I can tell you, seeing the trauma on Officer Neely's
Oh yeah,
when he
you
came home.
You gave me many a bowls of porridge home in Mama house.
That's right. I know the trauma.
Yes,
And I know
and
the
thank
grief
you.
when we knew we lost Eddie.
Yes.
That's right.
He said he was
That
right
was
down the
serious
road.
grief.
Yes. And nothing happened after that.
Be corrected.
Nothing happened.
Well, thank you so much, sister, for calling in. And we're going to run to another line now, but appreciate the
you.
contribution and,
Thank
and,
you,
and,
sis.
and take care of yourself. Calling you live on Maritime Matters. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
I want to say good evening to you, sir, and your guests. But I just want to make a brief statement. I will just continue and listen. I listened to you both of you, as you recall the incident of the Flamingo and your time that has been spent in the Royal Bahamas Defense Force. But the question is this, or the statement is this rather, they don't care. The country does not understand the role of the Defense Force. And while having said that, the reparations that was given by the Cuban government for the men of the Flamingo incident, they never saw it. And so therefore, when you think of all of the medals, the awards given in the country for persons, in my opinion, that may have served and felt that they did well, they did not make the ultimate sacrifice. The men of the Flamingo made the ultimate sacrifice, even those that survived. But do they care? No. Are they going to recognize them? No. We would hope so. But my point to you is this, or my statement is this. The country still does not understand when it comes to even state events. The other day, the Queen was here, and then her son, William, was here, her grandson, William. I'm amazed that the royal family is so insulted that you have the police force, and while they're the police of the country, the police never attends the royal family. It's always the military force that attends the royal family. That's why when Prince Harry was here, it caused an embarrassment, because when the superintendent reported to him that he's come to be his personal escort and bodyguard, he says, no, go away. Where is my military? So what the Bahamas government or the administrators, because we are the government, they are the administrators, what they fail to recognize is this. When you attend the royal family of England, these are men and women that would have served in the Royal Navy. The Royal Bahamas Defense Force is partnered after the Royal Navy. And so when you do certain things, that when the royal family comes and visit the Bahamas, and you put the police to attend them, it's really an insult. Because in England, the police does not tend to the royal family. The military does. And so I close with this, sir. I thank you for your show. I don't know how long it's going to survive, because what you're doing, you're bringing to the forefront an egregious mistake that has been made towards members of the Flamingo and members that serve within the Defense Force. And I don't think they want that room open. I don't think they want to rectify it. Having made that, I will shut up and listen to your comments.
Thank you very much, my brother.
Thank you, sir.
For words well spoken.
We got 2 more calls before the show is... Oh, look like 3. Hold on. Maritime Matters, good evening to you. Thank you for calling.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah, I just want to salute and commend Captain Neely,
Thank you.
his service, and for all of the other brave men.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
This is a day, I will never forget it. I knew most of the families of the young men, and in fact, Edward, his sister and I, Kathleen, walked to school many days, and they lived right through Lewis Street, and we lived in Mason's Addition.
Wow.
Today, we as young people will never forget. You know, I listened, and we still have time to fix it.
That is correct, ma'am.
Because some of those boys, I think 1 or 2 of them had children.
Yes.
So we still have time
I'm sure
to fix
Smith
it.
Smith and Williams had children.
2 of the siblings on another show, and there's still so much deep hurt.
Yes.
Within the family. So I think the time has come for us as a nation to honor not only the fallen, but those that are left here, and some of them are by the wayside.
Yes, caller.
So this is something we as a nation can fix. We
Caller,
need to fix it.
I've had the opportunity to watch those mothers die crying. And I'm going to tell you the truth. I thought about it every time I left the gathering, and I said, you know what? People don't care about these ladies. it is just a form of, it's something we have to do, and then everyone is back to normal immediately following, and the lady is still crying.
And they lost their life because they were serving the country.
That's right.
And in a
The
way that they
parents
couldn't
were
even
still
defend themselves.
crying, and nobody cared about it.
You know, I had the opportunity to go into Smith's mother's house many times, because Smith's brother Winton and I worked in banking together.
Okay.
And he was one of the siblings I interviewed. But his mother refused to talk about it.
Yes.
I mean, refused.
And that's how it is with
Just
some of my
refused.
shipmates. They have all closed up
Yeah.
about talking about the matter because it's that irritable to them. And they've already formulated in their minds that truly there's no concern, so why even speak about it?
And in
But
all the
why
suffering,
why are we talking
nothing.
about insurance? Why are we talking about insurance? These men should have been insured unto death.
That's
No,
right.
but they're
That's
not.
right.
I mean, so
As-
why are we talking about something as silly as that?
As soon as they retire, and I'm a living, I'm experienced with it. I have living life experience with it. As soon as you retire, that very same day, the next morning you don't have any insurance.
These are things that
I was the last one they did it to.
Wow.
we as a nation, we have to do better. And the men that are there now, the ones that are still above the earth, need to lead the charge.
Yeah, thank you so much for your contribution, ma'am. Our time is
Thank you
about
very much,
going all
ma'am.
out, and we have one more caller. Let me see if the producer can allow that. Maritime Matters, good evening. Thank you for calling, caller.
Yes, sir. Good night.
Good night to you, my
Good
friend.
night, sir.
That's Captain Glenvin.
Hey, what say, Larry?
Right there, man. Trying to survive it all.
Yes, sir.
One thing I know, they have it all in the right hands. If you're going to be the one chasing to see the reformation come to pass.
Oh, well, you know I ain't gonna let it rest, my friend.
I know you ain't going to let it rest. You know, I met you in grade 10.
That's right, that's right. You know how we do it.
Yeah. Now, for Amos Wood, I met him when I was a child. Because he lives, to describe where he lives, you have to know. You take Hay Street, and you take the little alley just before you reach the park, and he lived right to the end of that alley right there.
Oh, he's a Saxon then.
And I knew him because my grandmother lives right there next door to him.
Right.
And those guys, man, it's far too late for us to still be quiet and trying to get information for them right now today.
I agree with you 1,000 times, my brother. But anyway, our show is running out, so thanks for calling, Larry, and we're going to keep in touch, my friend. We'll be back next week. Please call a little earlier,
Yeah, so
and we can talk a little longer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Larry.
All right. So, Obi, I give you the last say. We close. The producer's giving us another minute. Anybody you want to say hello to? Anything you want to say to any?
I'd like to say hello to my wife, my
Very good.
sisters over in Harbour Island. I have my children, Osano, Raquel, and CG. And I have a lot of friends, like I said, in Grand Bahama, Abaco, all over the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
You are such a friendly person.
Yes,
And you're a little handsome too, so people love you today.
Take after you. Take after you.
No, I take after you. You're my big brother.
But I'd like to say to the Bahamian public, though, that we need to be more forward with our speech and concern about matters such as the sinking of the Flamingo and the persons who survived. Because, yes, all respect to the 4 Marines who died during the incident, and I love them all dearly, but we have men who are living now, and they're feeling the pain of living life without a lot of things that they don't have.
And they carried the burden for so many years.
And they've been carrying it for 42 years, and then, you know, these men are right there, and they've given all they've had to give. And we've forgotten them. We can't forget them. Because life should not be that way for those men. They should be on easy street. We need to look out for them.
Thank you so much, my friend. And I'll close out by saying thank you to my sponsors, One-on-One Pharmacy, Bahamas Maritime Connection, and of course, Totally Secured Security and Investigations. And I say thank you for my producer for giving me that extra 2 minutes. Thank you, Craig.
And thank you to
And-
Mr. Bain for bringing it all open up to the fore and letting the public know
Yes,
what
sir.
is being experienced.
So
Thank
good
you
night,
very much.
Bahamas. Maritime Matters is out.
We gave us 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh.